Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to F2 Worlds, the channel where we explore all things Final Fantasy. Today's video is an interesting one, as it covers a comment that was posted on one of my previous videos. They expressed their confusion in the prologue, particularly the involvement of Tidus, Jet, Auron, and Zanarkand, along with the story leading up to the events of the game. So for this video, I will attempt to explain in detail the prologue of Final Fantasy X. This was also a topic that I had trouble figuring out during my early hours of playing the game, and it took me a few playthroughs and a lot of reading to fully grasp the story of the prologue and how the events leading to the game played out. So let's get started. I will be covering the events up until Auron and Tidus are transported from Zanarkand. We are currently on the pilgrimage to 50 subscribers, and when we reach this milestone, I will start uploading twice a week, so be sure to subscribe if you are new and want to see some more Final Fantasy content. So let's get on with the video. In order to fully know the prologue of the story, we need to briefly delve into the history of Zanarkand. While it was touched on in my Yu Yevon video, it was not explored to tie up the story with Tidus and Jet, since I wanted to focus on Yu Yevon with that video, but be sure to watch the video if you haven't yet anyway. Jet and Tidus come from a land called Dream Zanarkand, which is a version of Zanarkand as it was before it was destroyed in a great battle against Bevel. Dream Zanarkand was created after Yu Yevon had the citizens of Zanarkand turned into faith as a last resort, when Zanarkand was losing to Bevel in the Machina War 1000 years ago. The faith were sealed in the peak of Mount Gagazet, where they were continued to dream a version of Zanarkand by manifesting fireflies to project memories of the Zanarkand from 1000 years ago into a city that would still continue to exist, but through the conjuration of its inhabitants. This Zanarkand was located out on the sea near Baj Temple. Around this time was also when Yu Yevon created Sin, the armor that was created in order to protect Dream Zanarkand from outsiders, but went rogue when Yu Yevon lost control of it, which led to Sin existing only to destroy. Dream Zanarkand is a creation from the memories of the faith in Mount Gagazet, which harness fireflies to create a physical version that exists out at sea. This is the Zanarkand that Jet and Tidus originated from. Its location being out at sea is far enough from Spira that feeds don't frequent the place, showing the more peaceful nature of Dream Zanarkand, but it is said that it would be a big deal if one were to show up. Consequently, the isolated location of Dream Zanarkand resulted in its inhabitants not knowing there was a world outside of it and believed that their city was the only inhabited city in the world. 10 years before the start of the game, Jet is lost while swimming at sea for training one day. It is likely that he came across Sin during his training and was taken to Spira, washed along the shores near Bevel. Not realizing there was a world outside Zanarkand, let alone that world being very different, he was seen as a drunk and insane when he explained where he came from, and was immediately locked up in Bevel's prison. However, this caught the attention of Braska, Yuna's father, and asked Jet to join him to defeat Sin, seeing the irony of a banished priest, a disgraced monk in Auron, and a drunk man who claims he comes from Zanarkand work together and vanquish Sin. Wanting to get out of the cell, Jet agrees to join Braska, and the three head off on their journey. During the journey, Jet learns more about Spira and the origins of his homeland. He leaves movie spheres behind for his son Tidus, in case he finds himself in the same situation that Jet is in at the time. It is likely that he came to the conclusion that he will never be able to return home by the end of the journey after seeing the Zanarkand ruins, which is the fate of the real Zanarkand from 1000 years ago, but not seeing any signs of how to return to his version of Zanarkand, which is out at sea far from the reaches of Spira. When Yunalesca asks Braska to offer a guardian to become his final Aeon, Jet volunteers knowing there is no way to get home, but makes Auron promise to look after Tidus for him, a task that Auron took on after initially objecting to it. When Jet is summoned as the final Aeon to defeat Sin, he is possessed by Yu Yevon as the old Sin is destroyed, and he becomes the core for the current version of Sin that exists in the events of Final Fantasy X. However, since he had just been recently possessed, Jet still has some control of his own conscience and can prevent himself from forcefully destroying Spira, as a result of a very strong influence Yu Yevon has over Sin, such as when he hears the Hymn of the Faith, a tune that is very popular among the inhabitants of Dream Zanarkand, despite its original meaning being lost over the years. This is evident throughout the game when Tidus and Sin would periodically have face-to-face confrontations without violence. It is through him being possessed by Yu Yevon and becoming the core for the new Sin that Jet was able to learn the location of Dream Zanarkand, as Sin is the only one who was able to access it in Spira. Auron, upset with the fact that both Braska and Jet died in their effort to destroy Sin, attacked Yunalesca and was mortally struck. He was able to crawl all the way down Mount Gagazet before eventually succumbing to his wounds, but not before he told a recently exiled Kimahri to go to Besaid and look after Yuna, Braska's daughter, similar to how Jet had told him to watch over Tidus before he dies. However, since he has not yet fulfilled his promise to Jet, he became an unsent and rode Sin to Dream Zanarkand, something he would not have been able to do if he was still alive, where he would watch Tidus for the next 10 years as he grew up to become the Tidus we know and love from the games. On one normal night 10 years later, Sin attacks Dream Zanarkand while Tidus is playing Blitzball. Jet has done this from his own consciousness as he wants Auron to take Tidus to Spira, which is hinted when Auron asks the famous 3 words in the prologue.
You are sure?
Before taking Tidus to Spira, as well as the faith of Bahamut guiding Tidus towards Sin so that he can be taken to Spira. Jet hopes that by Tidus taking the journey that he has, that he would find a way to destroy Sin once and for all, and free Jet from the influence of Yu Yevon from within Sin. This is a request that was also asked by the faith of Bahamut during the events of the game, that Tidus would see visions of Dream Zanarkand. Bahamut's fate will also serve as Tidus' guide during the game, as he is the one that explains his origins of his home in Dream Zanarkand and how it came about, as well as why he was sent to Spira. It is unsure if he guided Jet throughout the journey as well, but it is also a possibility, and that could be how Jet learned about the origins of Dream Zanarkand similar to Tidus. Once Sin transports Auron and Tidus, the latter lands at Baj Temple and the story of Final Fantasy X begins. And that will summarize the story of the prologue leading up to the events of the game. This was a video that was hard to stay consistent on because there is so much that can be explored behind the events leading up to the game. This just shows how much lore exists in the world of Spira, and I am sure some details of this one world will arise that many of us will not be aware of until playing this game for more than 100 hours or doing multiple playthroughs of it, which is what motivates me to continue making lore content for the game. Let me know what you all think of the story of the prologue leading up to the events of the game. Are there things that you have learned after watching this video? Are there any significant details I have missed? Is there perhaps a topic that I touched on this video that you would like me to expand on in a different video? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you want to see more content. Remember that when you reach 50 subscribers, I will be uploading twice a week, meaning you will see double the lore and theory videos on the channel. That will conclude today's video, and that, as they say, is that.